Today we're going to talk about bad parenting, and in this case, conditional love. Hello and welcome. As I said, today we're going to talk about another form of bad parenting, and this one is relatively prevalent. That's parents that place conditions on how or whether they're going to love their children. Most of the time, it's going to be based on whether or not their child does something they approve of. Prime example, a few years ago we had a kid who ended up moving here to this area because his family threw him out because he said he was an atheist. Now, they were a very religious family, but the fact that their 14-year-old kid said he was an atheist, they just didn't even blink an eye. They threw him out, and he ended up moving in with an aunt. Honestly, those people aren't fit to be parents if they can't deal with or be rational with a child who is doing what kids do. I mean, let's be honest. Anybody that sits there and says that they didn't start to question authority, question their parents, or just play the power game with their parents over thoughts and ideas, when they got in their teen years, they're just lying. We all do it. We all buck heads against their parents. It becomes a power game. I mean, honestly, we start doing that when we're 2 years old, but nobody freaking blinks an eye when a kid's saying no and refusing to do things. It's just, they're 2. Well, once a kid hits a certain age, then they do something parents don't approve of, then they flip the hell out. Another example would be when parents establish conditions, I'll kick you out of the house if you date someone that's the wrong race, the wrong religion, the wrong ethnicity. It's number one, it's one of those things as parents that we don't have a right to do. We don't have a right to tell our kids who they can love. We don't have a right to tell them, just because we're racists, they have to be racist and not go out with somebody of a race they don't approve of. I mean, that's a shitty person. Half the time I wish that there was a license for people to be parents, because so many bad people become parents and then they raise kids who become bad people because they put this kind of crap in their heads that, if the wrong religion, the wrong race, the wrong ethnicity, these are bad people. In all honesty, the people pushing those thoughts, they're the bad people. Another example, and this one really angers me, is when, because a child expresses or questions their sexuality, parents will kick them out or they can't love them anymore. You just can't kick your kid out for being who they are. And whether you want to admit it or not, or like it or not, we're talking about things that your kid is predisposed to. If they're gay, if they're lesbian, bisexual, whatever. There's a big spectrum of sexuality. You don't have to approve of it, but it is what it is. And our kids are born the way they're born. If you can't love your child, who you've loved from the time they're an infant until they discover their sexuality and realize who they are, you shouldn't have had the kid. I mean, you didn't love the kid in the first place if you're going to shun them because you don't approve of their sexuality. I mean, this is not bad parenting. This is being a shitty human being. These are things that you really should think about. If you're the kind of person, and you can say to yourself, if my child doesn't worship the God I worship, if they don't date the race or ethnicity that I approve of, or if their sexuality I don't approve of, I can't love them, you shouldn't have children. I mean, you are going to run the risk of all these things happening. You're going to run the risk of, let's say you're Jewish and they fall in love with a Catholic guy and you're really pissed about that. And I'm not saying that Jewish people do that, and then you say, well, if you marry that Catholic guy, we're not going to talk to you anymore. Well, if she marries the Catholic guy, there's a chance she's going to convert, and you have to live with it. I mean, that's being a parent. I've always told my own children, I don't care who you love, who you sleep with, what your personal beliefs are, as long as you're not a rapist, a murderer, or grow up to be an Enron executive, I'll still love you. Don't place conditions on your love. And even the rapist and murderer thing, I would still love my child. I just couldn't support them as far as, defend them and say, oh, they're innocent, especially when most of the time it's irrefutable. I mean, I'm not going to live in denial. If the facts are irrefutable, that's just what it is, and I'm not going to be able to support them through that. And, in my opinion, that's not a bad parent. That's just, you should raise your kids to not be that way. Now, if they're a sociopath or a psychopath and they do something like that, there's no control over it, but you don't have to support them or be like, oh, my child's perfect, they couldn't have done that, even if there's video of them doing it. Yeah, they did it, just get the hell over it. But the idea that you're going to reject or shun your child because they disagree philosophically or their romantic interests vary from what you think they should fall in love with or who they should fall in love with, or their sexuality repulses you so your child repulses you, it makes you a bad person. Think about these things. I really wish parents would think about these things before they have kids. I mean, if you can't, and the thing is, you can't control your kids. You can't tell them who to love. They're going to do what they want. And again, if you're going to be honest, you will admit if you fell in love with somebody that your parents didn't approve of, you didn't care because you were in love with them. You can't turn around and expect your children to do the opposite of what you've done. You just have to love them for who they are and not be a jackass. These people are just, I'm going to be honest, you're a terrible human being if you can shun your child over any of these things, and you shouldn't have children. I mean, it's the worst parent or parent type that exists, are the ones that place these conditions and emotionally blackmail their children. You don't have that right as a parent. Your responsibilities are to raise a good person, to raise someone who is a productive member of society, not a criminal, a loving human being, a caring human being, someone who you can be proud of. And if you can't be proud of somebody because they marry someone you don't approve of, they love someone you don't approve of, you're just a jackass. Don't do that. But that's pretty much it. Don't be a parent that places conditions on how or whether or not you're going to love your children. Love them for who they are. Accept them for who they are. Unless they're the most heinous criminals out there, you should be loving your children and accept what and who they are. But that's it for today. I questioned whether I was going to do this video or not, and it's one I wanted to put up, and I know there are going to be a lot of people who are bent out of shape because, they are the people who think that their child is a horrible person if they don't follow their religion, or if they marry someone of the same sex, or God forbid, they become transgendered. These are all the most heinous things they can think of. In some cases, some of these people are sick enough to think that it's worse than committing murder or rape or robbery, and what they're doing harms no one. So, if you're that person, you need to rethink your life and rethink who you are, because you're not a good person. You're not a good human being. But that's it for today. Tomorrow, I say tomorrow, but next video, I actually have a nice long list of the next dozen videos of what I'm going to do. I had planned to do this video in 4K using the new camera and the gimbal. It was a really nice day, but I had a whole lot of stuff to do around the house, and by the time I was ready to record, I had to come and do what I do every afternoon. So either tomorrow or Wednesday, I'll record my next video. I'm hoping it'll be in glorious 4K. And I also have a new mic that'll be more portable coming and easier than messing with the one that I have. I've been using my H1, the Zoom, and it works well, but it's kind of unwieldy. So I picked up something else that has a nice belt clip. It's really small. The mic will lock into it, and I don't have to worry about it. I set it and run and go. This thing, I have to worry about pulling the cable and everything else. So next video popping out, it may be tomorrow. We'll see how the weather is. But thanks for watching. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.